Buongiorno. Thank you for tuning in. If you're here, that means you know what time it is. It's time to wine with Wanda. This is episode 13, lucky 13 of my IG Live series. And today we are traveling to one of my favorite places. I've only been once, but it has a special place in my heart, Sicily. So many of us know that Sicily is the largest island in the Mediterranean Sea. And even though technically Sicily is part of Italy, it is very much its own unique place with its own character and history and culture. And wine is a big part of Sicilian identity and culture. And when I was thinking about doing this episode, I was like, who would be the perfect guide to take us through the beautiful wines of Sicily, especially the native grapes? So today I'm so delighted we'll be chatting with Alessio Planeta, owner of Planeta Winery. So for 5 centuries and 17 generations, the Planeta family has been involved in Sicilian agriculture, and they've made significant contributions to the revitalization of Sicilian wine. In the mid-80s, Alessio and his siblings, under the guidance of their father Diego, they decided to venture into the world of wine. And when the wines came to the US for the first time in the mid-90s, instant critical acclaim. People had not experienced Sicilian wines at this level. What makes Planeta so unique is that it's not just one winery, but the family has 6 boutique wine estates in different territories of Sicily. So they're in Menfi, Vittoria, Noto, Etna, and Capomilazzo. So today, and I'm going to bring Alessio on in just a moment, we're going to taste 3 wines. We're going to start with the Eruzione 1614 Carricante, which retails in the US for about $35. Then we have the Cerasuolo di Vittoria, which is the only DOCG wine in Sicily, so that'll be fun to talk about and explore with Alessio. And that retails for about $25. And then we're going to end with their very acclaimed Santa Cecilia Nero di Avola. We have the 2016, and that's about $44. So without further ado, we are going to bring in Alessio. So here we go. Going live, hit the button. Instagram magic happen. Nice to see you all. Hi, everyone, as we're waiting.
Hi, Wanda, how are you?
How are you?
Well, I'm okay. I'm in Memphis.
Oh, I was about to say you're in such a beautiful setting.
I'm connected from my house in Memphis. Yeah, on the
Very
southwest
nice.
of Sicily.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for taking the time to do this.
Thank you to ask me to talk about Sicily. As you know, I love Sicily, and it's always a pleasure to talk about Sicily around the world, on the web this time,
Yes.
so on Instagram. So I'm very happy.
Absolutely. Well, you know, I last saw you. It was in November in New York. It was the Robert Parker event. And the world has changed since then, hasn't it?
A lot.
Yes.
Yeah. I remember
so I hope
very
we get
well.
to see each other soon.
Yes.
One day.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Very
we
soon.
both grew up on islands. You know, I'm a Manhattan girl. Manhattan's an island. But we can't make wine in Manhattan. So growing up in Sicily, it's a very different island experience than Manhattan.
And a little bit bigger also. Well, with much less people. Sicily is around 300 kilometers each side around, and we are only 4 million, 4 or 5 million in Sicily. Yeah.
That's wonderful. So, you know, your family has such a rich and long history. So 17 generations, 5 centuries tied to agriculture. And then in the 80s, you decided to venture to wine. So what happened? What inspired that?
Well, what happened that my family, as you said, we were in Sicily, in the southwest of Sicily, in the area around Sambuca di Sicilia and Menfi, a lovely area with a very old tradition in wine. And my grandfather was one of the founder of a big cooperative. At the beginning, it was a small cooperative founded under in the 50s, end of 50s. And my uncle Diego became president of this cooperative very soon, in the 60s. And so when we were young, when we start to think about making agriculture. We used to sell the grapes to the cooperative.
Ah,
But we
okay.
are as a big Sicilian family. My father, they are four sisters and three brothers. Now they are six, and we are 15 cousins. And I don't know how
Whoa.
many is the new generation. And so we decided, okay, it's time to make our own wine. And it was at the middle of the 80s. And we start planting vineyards, special vineyards, focus on a project in quality on the border of Lago Arancio in Sambuca di Sicily, on the southwest of Sicily. This was 85, 86. But after only 10 years, we start to make our first winery and wine. I was at the time much younger than now, but I have still today the same passion of making wine. Maybe a little bit more experience, but same passion.
Yes, passion
Um,
and experience are the perfect combination.
and so we start in 95 with the first harvest in Sambuca, Sicily, on the southwest of Sicily. And this was really the beginning of Planeta. 96 first bottles on the market. And immediately after in 97, we start to think about something that today is other producers make also, but at that time was absolutely a dream. So the idea was to go around Sicily, planting vineyard and producing wine in different areas. Because for people that don't know Sicily as a wine area, Sicily is really land of diversity. There are a lot of many different varieties, terroir, weather condition, culture, atmosphere, so and appellation, of course. So this is why when you think about Sicily, you don't have to think about a Sicilian wine, but a little bit like a small continent with many different, style of wine. And this was an inspiration for us. And in 97, we went in the first project outside of Memphis. Memphis, our homeland, is a place where my
Okay.
family is based since the beginning, where I started making wines. In 97, we went first to Vittoria, was the first winery and vineyards outside of Planeta. And immediately after, we went to Noto, then to Etna, then to Capo Milazzo. So Planeta, as you said, today is 5 different places, completely different, with a completely different style and wine and whatever.
So is there a common thread? You know, each place is different and so distinct. So what is it as you were choosing those properties? What was the most important that said, you know what, this is a perfect place for the next Planeta project?
No, we visit these 5 places with an idea that these 5 places represent really diversity of Sicilian wine area. And every time we move in another place, was like to starting from scratch, from nothing, because to make one for example, we have 2 wineries, one in Vittoria and one in Noto. The distance is only 50, 60 miles, but it is really a completely diverse atmosphere. So there are what they have in common is that they are completely different each other. This is the what they have in common. Sicilian terroir is so diverse. The north of Sicily is done of mountain. Southwest of Sicily is done, generally speaking, about calcareous and clay soils coming up from the sea. And then you have on the southeast white soils and red sandy soils. Of course, Etna is a big volcano, is the higher in Europe. So diversity is what I think about when I think about Sicily.
Yes. And no, that's what when I was first introduced to your wines. And again, at that point, I didn't know much about Sicily or Sicilian wines. And really just the way you capture the unique qualities of each region and been able to transmit that in a bottle, I think is very exciting. And the fact that your first vintage was the 96 bottle, I mean, it's just amazing that this all happened so quickly.
Quickly, depending, because now are 25 years, and we've done 10 years of the prequel of Planeta was 7 years of making wine as an experimental way. and so on, and then we start. Sicily, there was a renaissance of Sicily in the last 30
Of
years.
course.
Sicily was there. We had a great past, but a difficult present in the 90s because Sicily produced too much wine. We were far from the market. People didn't know the real soul of Sicilian wine. And there is a story done about local variety, about sustainability. Sicily is the largest bio vineyards in Italy. I think yes.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yes. The reason is also because we live in a place where usually rain season is from I could say December, March. So when the vineyards are sleeping, the rest of the year usually we don't have a lot of rain. Even if at the end of the day, Sicily, people think about Sicily as a dry area, but as you can see around me, it's not so dry at the
Not
end.
so
It's quite
dry.
green, especially around the coast because we have the effect of the sea. So it'll be less warm than people think. And the result is an interesting wine area, really, with a lot of different aspects of making wine. To say to people how diverse is Sicily, we start the harvest on 10 of August in Menfi with some grapes like Chardonnay, and we finish the harvest in Etna on the end of October, first days of November. So we
Oh,
have more than
wow.
3 months of harvest in a small island. So an harvest is take time of a season of 3
That's
months.
true.
It is unique.
Excellent. So I have to ask, are there any other regions that you're looking at on the horizon?
You know, between you and me and our people there, no, we are okay. But the future for Planeta is to go deep in each area, to go deep in terroir, to understanding more, because you need really decades to understand, because every harvest is different. Every harvest you learn by the season, by the weather, by the mistakes you do in the winery, in the vineyards also. So at the moment, I want to say it's okay. It's okay. We explore
Yes, I think you do.
the
Absolutely.
diversity, and it's good.
Well, I think that's a perfect segue. One of the reasons, you have such a beautiful portfolio, including international varieties, but I'm so intrigued by the native grapes of Sicily. And I think they're so exciting and so expressive. So that's why I was very interested in tasting those with you today. So I guess, should we start with the Carricante?
Yes.
Okay. So I will show the bottle for those who are just tuning in. So this is Eruzione 1614 Carricante, and it's from Etna, correct?
Yes. It's from Etna
And the
area.
name Eruzione is...
The name Eruzione is a special name. When we arrive on the Etna, we buy land. And the land where we have this vineyard is at 890 meters. So it's higher of the limit of the DOCs. It's really on one of the highest vineyards in the Etna. And all the slopes of the volcano is covered by eruption. There is a beautiful map that I don't have with me, that you can see in different color all the different slopes of the volcano. And where we have the vineyards, there was the longest eruption of every time, from 6014 to 6024. So for 10 years, there were lava coming up from the volcano, yes, going down slowly on the volcano. And the vineyards are over there. So this is magic for winemaking, because in only 400 years, that geologically is like less than a second, there were soil that is over the eruption, and the reason is because from the top of the volcano you have many ash that came out step by step every year, and the ash is transformed in soil, and the vineyards grow over there. 100 and 200 years ago, Etna was covered of vineyards. There were vineyards everywhere. Men try to transform every single corner in this wonderful terrace. I don't know if you ever seen the wine terrace in Etna. And so now Etna is back, and it's really a great wine area, a fine wine region. It's a place where the wine are special. Is for me is the real expression. No one say the real, but it's a great expression of volcanic soils, where really the roots of the vineyards are in the black soils, and the sound and the atmosphere of the volcano is around.
Absolutely. I'm going to have a little sip. You know, every time I taste this wine, I just always have that minerality that you said from that volcanic soil is so present, but it's very fresh and crisp. And there's a little secret, and I mean, not a secret, but there's 10% Riesling.
Yes, you got. When we went to Etna, we planted 90% of local grapes because we have a Caricante on the white and Nerello Mascalese on red. But we, when we arrived there, you know, as a winemaker, I'm also a wine lover, and Riesling is a great grapes. And the atmosphere in Etna is an atmosphere with black soils. You do harvest in the end of October, so it was perfect for me to add a little bit to try a little bit of Riesling. The atmosphere in the vineyards was a Riesling atmosphere, and the minerality and the characters of the Caricante have something in common with the Riesling sometimes, especially when the Caricante age. And this was why we decided to add a little bit of Riesling and really accept the results on the wine that I'm happy that you like it. When you see the vineyards, when you see the grapes before the harvest, Riesling seems to say to you, I live happily on the Etna. So it's a good variety there. It's only 10%. My family, myself, we like to experiment. We like to play with the local grapes, of course, but sometimes you need to do some trial like this. And so 1 hectare on Riesling, it's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a wonderful. They blend beautifully, and there's a great salinity to this wine as well that I just really enjoy. Makes me want seafood now.
Yes, there is only stainless steel fermented and aged, so there is no wood in this wine. The idea is to preserve the freshness of the wine. And the Caricante is a local grapes that is really, for me, if a wine lovers want to have an idea of what is a minerality, that is something controversial, not easy to understand, not easy to explain, but taste Caricante and you had a good idea of, and taste Eruzione 1614.
I agree.
Could be an idea.
Yeah, it's very fresh and very approachable, but that minerality and that salinity just gives it that extra lift of complexity. This is really a beautiful wine. So thank you for sharing it again today.
Thank you very much.
One of my favorites. So I know we have 2 reds. Which one do you want to do first?
Cerasuolo di Vittoria first, yeah.
That's what I thought. Okay. So here we have it. And this is the 2018. In the US, that retails for about $25.99. Oh, and for those who want to know, the Caricante is about $35 that we just had. So beautiful Cerasuolo di Vittoria, which is Sicily's only DOCG.
Yes. It's the only Sicilian DOCG. That doesn't mean that it's the best wine in Sicily, as you know. Classification in Italy is a mix of the Italian personality. But what I like in Cerasuolo is the diversity and the unicity of this wine. The area of production is in the southeast of Sicily. Soils here are red and sandy. They are like exactly like walking on the beach because they are very soft sandy soils. Red.
Nice.
And this soils was under the sea until a few million years ago. They are done of 90 centimeters, 1 meter of red sandy soils, and then a few meters of shells, so white calcareous soils. Grapes here are Nero d'Avola and Frappato. So, and if Nero d'Avola is flag of Sicilian grapes, is 15% of Sicilian grapes is on Nero d'Avola. Frappato is only in the area of Vittoria. It's a
Okay.
super aromatic red wine for me, with unique flavors of strawberry, of red fruit. It's really a mix of red fruit flavors that make this wine unique. I choose a small balloon, not a big balloon, because I like to, as you,
Yeah.
to have more to the strawberry flavors become stronger and stronger.
hmm what's so interesting, Nero d'Avola, which is kind of a bigger, strong wine, and Frappato, which is a bit more delicate and fruity, but
Definitely.
together
Yes, definitely.
they bring
There
out
is
the best
also
in each other.
Nero d'Avola is a variety that in Sicily is cultivated in different places, and is a variety that really can read the soil, giving different wine depending where you are. In the area of Vittoria, with these soft soils, sandy soils, you have wine more aromatic than big. And even if you are in the southeast of Sicily, so in the south, one of the southest part of all Italy, on the limit of viticulture, the wine are not so big. They are more elegant than big. They are more fresh than rich, but they are really, for me, very very interesting. In the area, this is an area not far from the sea. Since the old time, people like to have Cerasuolo, maybe a little bit more fresh, maybe with fish, maybe with a tuna fish, maybe with tomato, any kind of tomato. You can have the
I can see
Cerasuolo for
that,
me
yeah.
with a tomato as a salad, as a pasta, and why not as with a good pizza that I would love that people should start to have
Ah, you know what? I think
red
maybe
wine with
tonight
pizza.
some pizza. Yeah, this is great. It's really fresh and it's very crunchy. I almost feel like I'm biting into the grape. It has that crispness to it. It's really lovely.
There is a little bit of spiciness in this wine,
Mm-hmm.
mixed
Look at that.
with the fruity flavors that I think is quite diverse. And when
Yeah,
you taste the
a little bit of
Cerasuolo, you can be
pomegranate taste too.
yes. And
Really, really pretty.
there are 25, 30, 25, 30 producer of Cerasuolo. Total production of Cerasuolo is we say 1 million bottles, you say 100,000 cases,
Okay.
but the numbers are the same at least. So it's a small production, but the wine is a wine with a long history. The area of production is not far from the sea. Since the antiquity, there was wine there. There's a beautiful archaeological site near the place, full of amphoras inside, sign of a very old viticulture in the area of Vittoria.
Great. And I see this at is 60% Nero d'Avola, 40% for the Frappato. So I think what's
Yes,
the for the blend, what's
yes.
allowed? What
The law said that you can have from 90 to 50 of Nero d'Avola and from
okay.
10 to 50 of Frappato. So you have to be, Nero d'Avola must be majority or the biggest component of the blend. And the reason
Great.
is because Frappato, as you said, is a wine that gives the flavors. But this kind of appellation, this kind of old DOC, now DOCG, they used the tradition. So in traditionally in the area they plant together Nerodavola and Frappato, and they mix the grapes during the harvest.
Mm-hmm.
Today we plant Nerodavola here and Frappato there, so to be more precise. But this was tradition. So this is, if the old people like to do this blend, there must be a reason of a tradition, a reason of experience, maybe for centuries.
Yes. Oh, and we should say Cerasuolo means cherry because of the
Mean
cherry-like
cherry,
qualities
yes.
of the wine, right?
Cerasuolo means like cherry colored.
Okay.
That is also, I think, is a very kind way to say that this one is not dark, it's not black like is a Nero d'Avola usually, but it's something a bit more it's a female, more. It's not a rosé. You know that in Italy, in the north, in the center of Italy, in Abruzzo, they make a Cerasuolo that is a rosé wine. This is definitely a red wine, but it's
Oh,
not a super
definitely.
dark red wine. It's much more.
Yeah, a bit translucent even.
If I
Yeah,
can
it's very.
say, respecting the wine area, is a bit more Pinot Noir style, more on of color also.
Perfect. So now we move to, I guess, maybe perhaps the most famous of the reds from Sicily, the Nero de Avola. So we have the Santa Cecilia 2016, and in the US, that's about $44. And I think when I first met you, I think we did a vertical tasting of Santa
exactly.
Cecilia.
we met in we meet two big guys, the Eruzione and the Santa Cecilia.
That's right.
So, Santa Cecilia is a DOC Noto. So Noto is the southeast of Sicily, the corner of Sicily, really the southern point of all Sicily, of all Italy, and again of all Europe. Because this, if you check a map, southeast of Sicily is southern than the northern part of Africa. So we are really down here. It's an extremely southern viticulture. Soils here are white like chalk, really. They are very calcareous. Yes, they are very calcareous. And if you go there in summertime, you need, especially depending by the color of your eyes, you need some good sunglasses because something really white and shining. And this is the area where Nero d'Avola was born. Today, Nero d'Avola, as we said, is in different area of the island. But at the beginning, Nero d'Avola was only in the area of Noto and Avola. Avola is a village near Noto, so Nero d'Avola means black grape, red grape from Avola. And then step by step, these grapes start to move, especially in the southern part of the island. And it's a lovely variety. I think it's lovely for the authenticity of the flavors, for the freshness. It's a wine that is big, it's rich, but it's also fresh and acid and something that can age very well. And it's quite something that really represents for me soul of Sicilian wine.
No, it's really, it's perfect. You know, the freshness is bold, but it's very graceful. And just lots of flavors, you know, coming out. You got the dark fruit, a little bit of spice, you have minerality. Just a really beautiful wine. Not jammy. You know, the fruit is there, but it's not jammy at all.
Yes. This is, as a winemaker, is for me, is exactly what I dislike. The kind of super ripe Nero d'Avola that are good for winning the wine tasting, but not for drinking, this is a wine for me in Santa Cecilia. This style of Nero d'Avola is a wine for lamb, for sausage, for we say tasty food, as the meat as we cook in Sicily. And the name is Santa Cecilia because our name is Planeta di Santa Cecilia. And this is our family crest where you have the element, you know, our name is Planeta. So of course you have some planet around. So there's moon, stars, a comet, and a lion. There seems to be a dog, but is a lion.
It's that's beautiful. Thanks for explaining that. It's a very elegant bottle. It makes a great impression when you see it. It's telling you, I'm serious. Drink me. Very nice. So, do you think, is there another DOCG that you would like to see, you know, in Sicily's future? Is there one in particular that maybe you're hoping for?
You know, of course, there is an interesting discussion on the Etna that I think should be a DOCG because it's quite unique and quite strong, and so all that you need to be in DOCG. But there are many producers. Every producer have a different ideas, and sometimes when you are a few producer, you go faster. When you are many, you go a little bit more slowly because everyone. But this should be for me the future of Sicily. There is also another kind of viticulture in Sicily that is wonderful. This viticulture on the small island. We have two small islands in Sicily. One is Pantelleria, on the
I've
middle
been
of the
there. It's beautiful. Zabibo.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Yeah. Another one is in Aeoli Island, north part of Sicily, and this is an area where the wine are unique and they could work, but they have the opposite problem. There are really few producer, and sometimes it's too. But these are two areas for me, three areas, Etna and the other two that should be something so unique, then they should have achieve the OCG.
Good. So
That
when it
doesn't
finally
change.
happens.
That doesn't change the taste of the wine, but it's good. It's important. Is something that make your work make a sense for me as a wine
Of
producer.
course, of course. Well, you know, I always like to end with this question. You know, I think for all of us who work in wine, there are trends or misconceptions that people have that just drive us crazy. So I always like to give people a moment to just air a grievance, set a record straight. So is there something you just want to tell people, like, come on?
Hard. I have how many days I have? I have days to talk about this, or I have a short time? No, I have a no. For example, I've done wine since 90s. I finished studying in 90s. In 91, I went to work as a worker in Burgundy. In 92, 93, I was working in Victoria area with COS, and then we start Planeta. So now we have 30 harvest, something. I have 30 harvest, and I start very young when I was I was like a sponge to any kind of trend, because you didn't have your clear. What I really like, what I really don't like is when people describe your wine and they talk about the winemaker, because if you feel a winemaker in the wine, you don't have done the right job, because you have to feel the. For me, the most interesting thing in wine is the secret of wine. Why all of us are here today, is that wine can describe you a place more than any other word, and so the wine done in any place is different from from wine done in different place. When in a wine you feel the winemaker, the technique of production, or whatever, there is a mistake there. You should feel the atmosphere of the place. You should feel the history of the place, and what, unfortunately, the French find a beautiful word that we don't have one like this in Italy, in Italian, that is terroir. So there is a mix of all of this word. So this is what I dislike: winemakers wine, or when people talk about techniques. I like when in the wine you feel that. And there are some others that I would like to talk about, but you asked for
maybe
one, and I done the one.
Okay, we'll come back and do that in a few months. But you know, it's so true. You know, when I first met you, I was struck by your humility. You really did let the wines speak for themselves. And clearly they spoke beautifully, because I was like, I want to speak with Alessio Planeta, you know, because I know your wines really do tell a story. And especially now that none of us can really travel, and Italy is a place that I love. And I've only been to Sicily once, but it really made a big impression. So with your wines, I get to experience that feeling, feel those breezes and the sun and the soil. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And when all these difficult days will finish, you will be back in Sicily. I will be back in the States, because I need to be back on the States.
Yes, we miss you. Well, thank you so much, Alessio.
Thank you very
the
much.
wines are gorgeous.
Grazie.
Stay safe.
Thank you very
See
much.
you soon.
Bye.
Ciao.
See you soon in Sicily. Grazie.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Grazie.